Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Note to Self. Today's episode holds such a special place in my heart. Today, I'm introducing you to someone who has been a part of my journey since the very beginning of my coaching journey. Renee was my very first coaching client. And from the moment we started working together years ago to where she is now, the transformation has been nothing short of extraordinary. Renee is a CEO, shamanic practitioner, transformation coach, intuitive, and mystic. She is a true embodiment of walking the path of alignment and courage. In this conversation, we dive into her incredible story of saying yes to her dreams and moving from the US to France. We talk about the magic that unfolds after you say yes, the power of following your intuition, and the sacred invitation to return to the divine feminine within. This is an inspiring, soul led conversation about transformation, trust, and the beautiful unfolding that happens when you choose to make the leap. So, without further ado, here is the beautiful, the radiant, the extraordinary force of nature that is Renee Jenais.
Yeah, it feels like I've known you for forever at this point. I have been in the corporate realm for over 2 decades, doing large transformation and change programs for corporations. But alongside of that, I have been developing as a shamanic practitioner, an intuitive, a healer, a guide. And now I'm really stepping into this phase of my life where I'm bringing those two things together, because I finally followed my dream, my lifelong dream, and moved to France in summer of 2024. So yeah, that's me.
Yes, thank you, Renee. And what a beautiful journey it's been just to witness the unfolding of you claiming your dream and then having that come to fruition. I remember when we first started working together years ago, that was something that you shared with me, this intense love and desire, this pull from the heart space to spend time in France and eventually make the move there. So I'd love it if you could share with the community today what that pull on your heart felt like or where that inner knowing came from.
So when I think it goes back to my great grandparents. My great grandparents immigrated from France to Canada and then Canada into the US a long, long time ago. And when I was little, when we would go visit them, I would hear French spoken in their home. And I was really introduced to a lot of the cultural nuances of a French family life, Sunday lunches, music always being around, discussion about art and culture, always kind of part and parcel to the conversation. So, and I hearing my great grandparents talk about France, I just they talked about it with such love, and they missed it, and they were trying to create they moved at the time of the war, and so going back for them really didn't feel like an option at that time. And so they were trying to create their version of France in their new country. And so I just developed through them this love and this longing to live in this place that they spoke of like like it was magic. And I just I desired it so much that in during kindergarten, my mother told me one time I declared to my kindergarten class that I was going to move to France. And I was pretty sure that I didn't even know what that would mean at the time or where it was on a map. But yes, I was so like decided by that point. So it's been on my heart ever since. And I actually started taking French lessons in high school, and I've dabbled in French over the years. And Yeah, so it's always been there.
I love that. It sounds like it's always been there and you've always been aligning with that reality
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
making
yeah, I mean,
decisions from
life
that
gets in the
place.
way, right? You know,
Mhm.
I mean, there was always this, well, okay, after the kids, after this, after that, go to college, get married, have kids, like after all of these steps, then I can go, then I can go, then I can go. And before you know it, like life has gone by and you still haven't gone. And as I sit here today, having made the decision, that's my only regret. My only regret is not having gone like, 40 years ago. Yeah, like I should have done it then, but
Yeah.
better
All
late.
in divine time. All
Yeah,
in divine time. But I know what that expression of like feeling that, if only sooner, I would
yeah,
have done it sooner if I knew
right.
how
Yeah,
incredible it feels to be in the dream, in that
yeah.
manifestation of the dream, having made that move. I feel like what you're expressing is what so many people express when they finally take that leap of faith to where they feel called and pulled to be. And what, if anything, do you have to share with people about making that leap or coming to the place of decision?
So, um, I think one of the most surprising things to me that happened, like after I made the decision and set about the million and one steps to actually making it happen, but like once I was here and in that initial year of doing all of the things that one needs to do when they're starting a new life in a new country and a new language. Um, what making that original decision to actually do it, um, it surprisingly it built up courage in me to then say yes to the next leap, say yes to the next thing. Um, I did not realize that that would be a side effect, that that would be a benefit. I thought, okay, I'm going to choose my dream. I'm going to go, I'm going to create my life. But I had no idea that there would be this knock-on impact to how I move in the world with more confidence, having been through the, 1,001 steps that it takes to from decision to landing in France and creating a life here.
Yeah, what I'm hearing there is that by really honoring this desire that's been there for as long as you can remember, it opened up a new pathway for you, one full of confidence and innate trust in yourself and the journey to finally answer this call.
And that's the key. It built a trust in me that I'm much more willing to say yes to trying something new or taking on something, that I wouldn't have done before. And building a life in a new language takes a dose of that courage every single day anyway. So you get lots of practice, because sometimes you've got to find the courage to, muddle your way through that conversation with the pharmacist or the vet or whatever the situation is. There's a million and one of those that happen every day. You're presented with plenty of opportunity to challenge yourself and to gain courage, which with every time you succeed at whatever it is that you're trying to get through.
Yes, the journey of the expat. Every
Yes.
day is an adventure in those ways. Every day challenges you in those ways. And it's
Mhm.
continuing to keep that energy of openness to learn, to evolve, to grow with each of these experiences.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And not to, um, not to kind of shrink yourself away because it would be, it might be the easy path to, sit in my house in the French, countryside and not interact with anyone. Like, wouldn't that be easy, right? Not challenge myself, but what kind of a life would that be? And by putting myself out there, the benefit in that is not only, does my life end up being richer for it, I gain the confidence, I'm practicing French, but I'm also like making friends, making community, and then invariably, when you find yourself in a situation where you don't know the answer to something or you don't understand why something is the way it is, there's somebody who knows and who can help. So making friends, making a community is so important to your success as an expat. It just is super
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's beautiful is that just from working with you, and I know is that there's been these moments in time where you've put yourself out there in new ways and it's just magnetized the people, the
Yeah.
opportunities, the experiences that have allowed you to expand your community in such a beautiful way and to just witness the support from people who perhaps used to be strangers, but how quickly you can develop community when you really put yourself out there in an authentic way and you're in that energy of openness.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I've spent my first year, as you know, I spent the first year kind of moving around different areas of France because I wasn't sure where I wanted to kind of plant roots. And so every month, 6 weeks, in some places I stayed up to 3 months. I would end up building this community and then I would leave it and move myself to the next place to check out. And in a lot of ways, leaving people was hard because I would develop these great connections. But each new place that I went, I had a brand new slate and opportunity to make new community. And oddly enough, I just got more and more confidence around doing that. So when I got to the place that I decided to plant roots, um, within the first 2 weeks of being here, I had a community established of friends, both French and English, and it was just from reaching out and joining groups and like getting involved and asking for help when you need it.
Yes, that could also be a big challenge to overcome is the asking for help.
Particularly as Americans, we are pre-programmed to not ask for help, to be self-sufficient, to be productive. The French don't care how productive you are. Um, it's just an entirely different value system. So, your productivity isn't going to mean anything. So it starts you on a journey of hopefully. I always say the one words of wisdom that I would give to somebody moving to France is to allow France to change you because if you allow it, it will. And that's probably one of the biggest things is that it will change how you see yourself and the value that you bring into the world because of the way the French put value on who you are as a person and how you are in relation to family and community. That's what the French value, not whether you're productive or not.
That's beautiful, Renee. I'd love it if you could expand on that a little bit more and share more about how France has changed you in these ways.
Oh, so in the US, I own my own business, and I would work all manner of hours. And towards the end of what one might call a normal work day, I would find myself just like I'll do one more thing. I've got a few more things on the list. I'll do those, then I'll stop. And before you know it, it's 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm still sitting at my desk. And, life had that kind of well-worn groove and routine to it. But when I came here, I started a French corporation. So there was lots to do with that initially. And but I still had some North American clients. So that flipped my workday on its head. So I was no longer working kind of in the morning. I was working in my evening in France. But what that did was it gave me my day. So I was starting the free time part of my day, the part of my day where I feel like, I truly own my time. Um, it was at a time where I wasn't already plugged into work. So I could, wake up in the morning and enjoy a cup of coffee and then take the dog out for a nice leisurely walk around the village and really allow ease and slowness into my day. And what I was finding is because a French village, France kind of runs on a rhythm. There's a rhythm to most French villages, not so much in large cities, but French villages run on a rhythm. Things kind of pick up and people come out around that 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then around 12:30, 1 o'clock, things like you would swear everybody left, because the village goes quiet, everybody goes home for lunch, and things don't tend to wake up again until about 3:30 in the afternoon. And then they're lively through the evening until 8, 9 o'clock. And then, the village will go quiet again. And so there's a very predictable rhythm, and everybody's running at that rhythm. Where in the US, everybody is trying to be as productive as they can be. It's the way the model works. And so everybody's moving as fast as they can every hour of every day. So if you just think about the flow of that, one is very rhythmic and slow and consistent, and one is very chaotic, just energetically speaking. And so in that first month, I just found myself being able to slow down and create spaciousness in my day. And with that spaciousness, I could sit down and read a book, or I could paint, or like I could write and do all of these other things that I've always loved to do and never felt like I had the time to do them. And suddenly, because of the slower pace in France, I was giving myself the opportunity to do those things. So it changes you.
I love that was what I'm hearing. It just sounds as if it's a big exhale for your soul being there. An exhale, a relaxing of the nervous system. It's allowed you to just get in tune with, of course, the rhythm of France, but you're back to your own natural rhythm. It sounds more in alignment with nature and just who you are.
Absolutely. I have done a lot of study over the years in polarity work, and I have, this feels like more than a decade now, struggled against feeling like I was stuck in a very masculine, energetic hamster wheel type existence. And I feel like moving to France, one of the side benefits for me is as I slowed down and kind of developed that more rhythmic way of navigating my life, it became much easier to then operate from my feminine, which is an entirely different way of navigating the world, to navigate from a place of receptivity rather than from a place of doing. So France really helped me to finally embody that in a way that I struggled so long in the US and just couldn't get there because the model just doesn't support it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like this is the shift that so many women are feeling called to make is that shift into relaxing, into receptivity, starting to put down the shields, put down the resistance, release the tension in their bodies, and just soften. What, if
Yeah.
any, advice or wisdom comes to you to share around women who are desiring to make that shift for themselves?
Don't think of that as the lazy option. I think a lot of women think about that and think, well, what am I going to do with myself? Like, just sit around all day. But that's missing the point of the feminine because the feminine has I'm going to call it a fire of desire that lives within us. So many times we're taught as young girls or young women that our desire gets activated by a boyfriend, somebody we're attracted to, a nice outfit, like something outside of us. But that's not what activates our desire. Our desire is a fire, it's a flame that is resident within us that is always there. And and when you begin to slow down and you connect to that desire, that flame of longing inside you, it begins to inform you. But it is an engine that runs hot that will power your life in directions that you may never have thought that you would go. Um, but amazing, amazing places, you know? Um, yeah. So I would don't fall victim to the story of I'm gonna sit around and relax all day and somehow, buy into the negativity around that because you're suddenly not productive. Um, the essence of the feminine and the core of her nature, the receptivity, um, but it's also a magnet. It magnetizes that engine of desire to then bring in the intuition, which will help you navigate the world. It really will.
It's the superpower. That's what
It
it's
is
sounding like.
absolutely a superpower. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you don't feel like you know what your desire actually feels like, if you just meditate on the word, what is my longing? What do I long for?
Mm.
That word longing can put you in touch with that spot deep inside your belly where that desire root is. Yeah.
There's so
That's
much power there.
yeah, that's where I feel like my work in the world is heading there. It's it's making sure that we aren't waiting,
Mhm.
that we aren't waiting, we aren't um we aren't abandoning that internal longing that we all have because there's a set of external programs that tell us we're supposed to do whatever it is, something else. What is that longing in each of our souls? Because I think um, as people, when we begin to align and follow what that longing actually is, that's when magic happens. That's when life really lights up inside you and all around you. Um, yeah,
Beautiful. I love that action step. I encourage
yeah,
everyone out there to sit in meditation on that word longing, exploring what true desire can be because it feels like such an expansive gateway.
Mhm.
And you were speaking into and what I know from working with you is this whole next level of expansion of your work, really owning all of your gifts. And as mentioned, you have previously been in corporate for 2 decades. What has that journey been like for you, bringing all of Renee to the surface and choosing to move forward in this entirely new era?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I've functioned in that very masculine corporate world for so long and I'm good at it. Like I've have a very successful track record managing very large initiatives and over the years have been asked many times, how do you do what you do? Can you teach these people how you do what you do? And I always struggled with that question because I could like they wouldn't have believed me had I, because a lot of what I do, I am doing from my intuition, from my gut, from that core sense of inner guidance that I have, um, and how I feel the sense of things. And like describing something like that in a corporate setting would just never fly. You like, it needs to be about skill and talent and success and like that kind of stuff. Where, and again, it's, the male language of doing versus the feminine language of receptivity. And so I'm making this shift I'm still very much engaged with corporate clients and working in that, but um, at the same time, I'm beginning to work with individuals and really wanting to focus my work on putting women in touch with their own longing and choosing the dreams that they have and not waiting. Um, yeah. It, so it's a for the longest time I have kept my my spiritual work in the world, my shamanic practice, all of that very separate from my corporate work. And now I'm feeling more like, I will openly talk more in kind of a shared way. But I also know that my future work will end up leaning more toward working with individuals and bringing all of my spiritual gifts to that equation, in addition to my corporate experience.
It sounds like your gifts have always been there and you've always been aware of them.
Yeah,
And they, even though you've kept the work between corporate and your shamanic, more spiritual work separate, there's ways in which the spiritual gifts that you have always been leading and guiding you in those ways. And it sounds like you're in this
absolutely.
space now where you're really following the pull or answering the call to be of service in ways that our world truly needs it right now and really
Exactly.
opening up to honor that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Yeah, because we're living in such a time of, there's fear, there's disconnection, and this idea of separateness, none of which is true. And to a certain extent, when you live in all of that and you're listening to those messages all the time, you can get paralyzed in fear about stepping out or making a change or trying to be empowered in your own life. And I feel like it is so important to um, remind people of their own of the power that they have because each and every one of us has all the answers that we need. We have everything we need inside of us. We just have to be connected enough to our own bodies to listen to it. Um, and I think it's just an important thing to do right now, given just the chaotic nature of the world at the moment.
Yes, and your work really will bring people back home to themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's what it sounds like too. Even just when you're talking about the longing, the desire, that feminine energy, the fire inside, sh
Mhm.
guiding people and showing them back to their true center.
Yeah, it's reminding them to trust themselves,
Mm.
putting them in touch with their own body and trusting their own internal guidance systems, not looking outside for answers. It's interesting, like one of the things that we've kind of been programmed to is when a question comes up, ooh, I need to know, or I wonder how I would, whatever the question is, we immediately go to the mind and we go external as women. We go to the mind and go to Google, hey, you know, rather than getting quiet and going internal. Like, what does that question really mean for us as women? I feel like this is about putting women back in touch with their own power, um, and to no longer fear that power.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I feel this is such a collective awakening or remembering that's happening right now during these
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
With that, what do you see or what do you feel into around what shift is happening?
To me, it's if there can be enough women to reconnect, to repolarize themselves with aligning themselves with their feminine energy and leveraging their own um, engine of desire into the universe, then the will go out of competition with the masculine. Right now,
Mm.
we've got a bunch of women, including myself, in the past, who've very much been in the masculine energy. And then guess what? Masculine to masculine is a competitive force. We're going to try to like one up each other. And what does that look like in the world? If men and women are going at each other like that. Where if women, if we no longer buy into this idea that by moving into a receptive energy, that that's somehow a lesser energy, because we've been taught that historically. Not true. Not true. There is no one's better than the other. They are the absolute perfect complement to each other. So if we as women can shift into our feminine energy and and identify with the value of that core manifestation engine that lives within us, that desirous engine, and then we can help the masculine via using the intuition engine that we've got to provide information to the masculine that then they might want to go do something with. Like that's the perfect matching of the two energies working in collaboration together. I feel like if we can get enough people working in that harmony, then we begin to change the overall energy on the planet. Over time, when people realize, wait a minute, that that doesn't look at all like I've been taught that it looks, you know. Yeah. So it, and yet it's challenging to overcome the programming, and it feels risky to live from your feminine and ignore all of the messages that you've heard your entire life. That can feel risky. Um, and yet, um, it just feels like the absolute truest path.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom on that, Renee. And it really resonates with me when you said like that is the truest path because there's such a resonance, such a pull. I feel personally in my own heart guided in that way. And it is like the programming is the clunky part of it. This needs to
Yeah.
be stripped down. This is the work. This is what needs to be rewritten, composted.
Yeah.
And there's layers there. There's
Yeah.
layers and there's work to recalibrate and find safety in the feminine, in the new way of being, but is really not the new way of being. It's the truest, most
Yeah.
resonant, natural way of being.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely right in that, um, having that alignment feel safe because we've been programmed that it's not, um, is such an important step of reconnecting into that receptive nature,
Mhm.
and finding safety in being there, particularly, because we live in a world that is modeled the exact opposite of that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when it comes to the conversation of claiming your dream and choosing that, there is
Yep.
a stripping out, finding safety in that, and trusting that your dream gets to be actualized because the work was just all in remembering who you are. The work was never, I'm thinking in like, I think old school manifestation terms of I need to do this, I need to script, I need to, visual, I need to do all of these things,
Right.
the doing, right? More in
Right.
that masculine energy. But
Right.
when you strip down, you do the more challenging work, I would say, is deprogramming and
Yeah.
moving through that. When you're in that space of receptivity, all becomes clear, all aligns in your favor. You're met with synchronicities, you're met with the path of least resistance really opening up for you.
Yeah. It's interesting because you reminded me of a moment th when I was making the decision about, moving to France. I had had a call with a consultant, and by the end of that call, I knew that I had a path to a visa. I had a path to, starting a company. So it was like I disconnected that Zoom call and suddenly realized that there was no more barriers between me and my dream other than me choosing it. And in those moments, like, you remember what my living room was like. I was sitting in my living room and I turned and I'm looking out at the Pacific Ocean, and which is just this amazing place to go for expansion, an expansive view of things. And I'm, watching the ocean, and two things came to mind. One, literally a month prior, my father had died. And I got a vision of my dad on his deathbed in the last hours of his life. And I felt like that vision was poking me to question, how would I feel on my own deathbed if I did not choose this dream? And I knew the answer to that question immediately. I knew if I didn't do it, I would regret it. And then the question, if not now, then when, popped in. And like, I'm not getting any younger. And I don't like, I no longer, because I lost so many people. I literally lost four significant people in my life in less than a year, between 23 and 24. And and when you have that much death show up, it really reminds you to grab a hold of life and live it as fully as you can. And so I really knew when I heard that question, if not now, then when, that for me, it was now. It was now. But when you're faced with that decision, it's it's a very uncomfortable moment because like you're picturing yourself on the edge of this cliff and you're making a choice to step off when you can't see the bottom, you don't have all of the answers, and there's no way to have all of the answers. So many people get stuck in not choosing because they think there's a way to figure out all of the answers. If I plan this to the nth degree, I will have all of the answers. What you're looking for is you're trying to create safety where it's impossible to create safety that way. You have to create safety within you by building trust in yourself. You create safety from within yourself. Then you no longer need to derive safety from external sources. Then it doesn't matter if you don't have all of the answers. You know, um, it's just, yeah, it's interesting because I end up frequently talking to people these days about moving to France, and they want to move to France, and they get stuck in that, oh, but I need to do X, Y, and Z first. Like, okay, you know, do you really? It, do you really, or is that just your way of being safe right now? Because making this choice feels scary. Like choosing your dream feels scary. There's a part in that choice where, what if you've had this dream your entire life and then you choose it and you don't like it? Like that could have happened. I could have gotten here and have been miserable. That could have absolutely happened. And then I would have held on to this dream my entire life for what? But it's like I would have never known that without making the leap and going for it and figuring that out. Um, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's so beautiful, Renee. When you're speaking, it reminded me of the word decide, which comes from the Latin root of the word decidere, which literally means to cut away all other options. And there's
Yes.
something so powerful when you get to that moment of decision because you are cutting away the excuses. You're cutting away the additional timelines that you could hop onto. And you're finally making this choice deep inside to trust the self and to
Yeah.
trust the self that, like, if you make this leap into the unknown, even
Yep.
if, you know, you were to arrive to France miserable, you would know what to do and it would ultimately be leading you to what's next.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful, and I'm sure that you can relate to this feeling too, is once you decide and you leap off that cliff into the unknown, the joy, the excitement, the aliveness that starts to channel through you is something so special because it truly does remind you about what it means to be human in all of its glory, all of its magic, all of its potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where that like you get that boost of confidence. Yeah, yeah. I was reminded when you were talking about in shamanism, we have a couple of concepts. One's like the choiceless choice, when something feel like for me, when I knew that I would regret not doing it on my deathbed, in that moment, it became a choiceless choice for me. It was something that I had to choose to do, or I would like, I wouldn't, I would, part of me would cease being who I am if I didn't follow that dream. And then you're absolutely right in in what you were saying about, shamanically, we think of them as not leaving any back doors open, like fully committing to something. Because if you've got one foot forward and one foot kind of holding the back door open just in case you get scared, then it's not going to work because your energy is diverted. You're like, you're constantly looking at like, should I run? Should I go? Should I like, you gotta go all in, and the universe will go all in with you. It
Mhm.
really will. If it's amazing how over the course of this last year, at every, because it's not perfect, things go wrong. You've got to figure out things, you know, um, but at every point in that journey, I had a trust that I was supposed to be on this journey. And then in those tough moments, things would show up, things would resolve themselves. Like I would get the answer I needed, I would find my way through a problem. And there was such gratitude, confidence in myself every time I worked my way through something like that. Absolute gratitude for the people who showed up along the way to help and answer questions and be kind and wonderful. Yeah, it's made the last year an amazing journey.
Yeah, it has been an amazing journey. And just from what I know, working with you, these synchronicities, these solutions, these just magical moments that are out of this world, literally. It just reminds us that when we do make those leaps, when we answer the call of our soul, of our heart, and we choose to trust ourselves in those ways, we get to work I mean, we're always working with Source, but we work so closely with Source. It's almost like, okay, you really witness that partnership, that co-creation at hand in each and every moment in such a new and different way because you are in complete unknown territory. And
Yeah.
it's a very beautiful thing. I mean, I think people can sense maybe a lot of fear around leaping into the unknown in that way, but there's actually so many blessings. It's actually so much easier on the other side of that leap than people anticipate.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like just take the leap, just do it because there's so much that you can't see until you're on the other side of it. There's so many benefits. Um, just it's more than just the confidence you end up having in yourself, the way you trust yourself so much differently, the way that spirit absolutely shows up in spades to help you along the way. Each one of those little assists gives you more and more a coherent relationship to, how to manifest and work with spirit in your own life. I so many benefits uh, to taking the leap. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, such a beautiful journey. I just really want to acknowledge you for just claiming your dream, Renee, and witnessing that and then sharing that with everyone today because there's such magic and medicine in what you have to share because so many of us can relate to having that dream, that desire in our heart. We always do. There's always something emerging. There's always
Yep.
something that we're being called to look at. And I feel like you sharing all of this is really sparking something in the people listening, like, okay, my dreams matter. If not now, then when? Can I start exploring my longing? Like starting to remember that each individual has the power of conscious choice. At any moment in time, you can make a decision that completely change your life and leads you
Yes.
into a whole new era. I want to ask you, like, what, if anything, would you say to someone who is on the edge of that cliff? Like,
Mhm.
just kind of maybe leaning back and forth, maybe entertaining some excuses,
Yeah.
maybe exploring that not good enough or not ready yet. What wisdom do you have to share?
I, well, a few things. I would have them dive deep and explore what is that voice in your head saying to you? The crappy crap that it's telling you, write it all down and then look at it and figure out which one of those things does your higher self actually believe? Chances are your higher self doesn't believe any of those things because your higher self knows how powerful you are. So, when you can kind of almost separate yourself from those messages in your head to see them a little bit more distinctly, you can begin to question them and then they start to lose some of their power over you, which is key to then being able to take the leap. Um, but ultimately, all of those things that you think you've got to do first, you know, do you really? I mean, or like for me, I mean, over the years, I'm like, well, I need to get the kids through school. Well, did I really? The answer to that is no, I didn't. I could have moved when my children were little. I could have moved. I could have moved at any point in time and moved them to France and put them in school in France. I know people who've done that very, very successfully. And a year later, their daughter came over at seventh grade, like middle of middle school, went into French public school without any French skills whatsoever. And a year later, she's fluent and had a wonderful experience. And they're staying. So any of these things can be done. There are people who have done them already. You're not the first. I wasn't the first. There are people all over this country who've come here from other places. And so whatever your dream is, though, whatever those things are that you feel like have to come first, I challenge you to look at those. Could they come after? Could you go like choose your dream and go for it, and then those other things happen? Chances are they can.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Renee. Thank you for sharing that because I feel like that just gave so many people permission to say, okay, I can. I can look
Yeah,
at this differently. I can zoom out a little bit. I
yeah,
can start to channel more optimism
yeah.
and view
Because
myself as someone capable.
if you have a list of 5 things and those 5 things are going to take you 5 years to do, what if you chose your dream and then did those 5 things? In 5 years' time, you're going to be 5 years into living your dream life and have gotten those other things done anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I
I mean,
love that.
it's such a better place to be. Yeah.
Yes.
In your
Living in
dream,
possibility. Yes.
not
Living
be
in
your
expansion.
dream life. Whatever that dream life is, it doesn't have to be France. It could be anywhere. Or maybe your dream is a different career or, a different relationship or, whatever your dream is, whatever that longing is that sits deep in your belly, that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, such
Yeah.
a powerful conversation today, Renee. And what I'm so excited to share with everyone is that Renee now has a YouTube channel, which you've been working on creating content for months now, and there's so much goodness waiting there for everyone. Can you share a little bit more with us about your YouTube channel, Renee, and what people can find on there, how they can connect with you more deeply?
Well, I will say what you can find, what you'll be able to find, because it will go live on on the 20th of October. And basically, initially, the videos are more about my story and how I got here and all of that. And then it's kind of um, initially sharing some of this journey over the first year. But what's really on my heart to start making more content, video content around is around this connecting to your longing, connecting to your desire, and then really following through on that and choosing those dreams. So I'm going to be exploring that and seeing where it all takes me. Ultimately, spirit will be guiding and whatever um comes will come, I think.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. The
And
channel is called Renee Jenais. It's Reneejenais, which there is a story. It translates in French as Renee, I am born. So
beautiful. Yeah, such an energy of rebirth too in this conversation, in this chapter of life for you. There's just so many new beginnings unfolding right now for everyone. And I trust that in visiting your YouTube channel, connecting more with you, it's just going to give more and more people the opportunity to say yes to themselves, to really honor themselves in that way.
I absolutely hope so. I absolutely hope so. It is my calling to make sure that um I can help in whatever way to empower people and have them live their own dreams. Yeah.
Yes. So go out there, listen to Renee's YouTube videos, go watch her, check out her website. All of her links will be down below. And remember, if not now, then when? It's time to really claim your dream. Thanks for listening, everyone.